Okay. All right. So we're going to start with national because we assume that you might have some questions or some thoughts about what's happening with the Department of Ed. And then we'll kind of talk about updates from state that are related to some of what we're talking about with the Department of Ed nationally. And we're going to kind of end with some recap of the fall. And we started with some positive, so we're going to try to bookend with some really positive, some action-oriented things for you today. But let me dive into some of the Department of Ed stuff. So we had a meeting. The meeting with National was on Wednesday for updates, and many of you might have also been on the webinar on the 3rd, not yesterday, 2 days ago, on the 3rd with Megan. Um, and so we just wanted to kind of like, what is National doing? Like, how are they kind of thinking about the Department of Ed dismantling? I think if you want the full Monty on what's on how they're thinking about it, please go and watch the recording of the webinar with Megan. Because she gives a lot more information than we'll give here, but we're focusing on some of the more action-oriented things that are coming out of what they're doing at National. So some of the things that are happening are right now are one with the Department of there are two things. One, the Department of Ed kind of being broken apart, how they're monitoring it and what they're suggesting that we do. And two, the way that rule changes are happening within other administrative sectors. So we talked about this kind of rule change aspect of things in May a little bit. So in an attempt to change the way that we think about the application of right funding and is coming through other agencies. So if you change the rules at the Department of Energy, then that actually affects funding for educational institutions, right? So it's a very kind of roundabout way for defunding researchers, and some aspects of higher ed and education. So one of these rule changes is the Department of Energy, right? The Department of Energy rule changes impact Title IX application, funding around gender-based issues in Title VII. So uh, these there's one set of rules that will go into effect as a final rule on December 9th. They'll then be challenged legally. But one set of rules is Title IX, having a challenge to Title IX having a proactive program to recruit women in STEM. So that is going to be subject to some of the historically, right? The Department of Energy has contributed funding to recruitment of, right, having more women in STEM. Now, this is going to be considered problematic and potentially discriminatory because some of the administration's guidance basically, right, foreground the idea of equality without thinking about equity, right? It just is like everybody has to be equal, or it is discriminatory rather than looking at historical inequalities and trying to remedy them. So that is one of the problematic changes. The other one is uh, really kind of challenging the idea of right, disparate impact. So this means that like if a policy seems neutral, but it has a problematic impact or a different kind of impact on different parties, then historically it could be seen as discriminatory. So the rules here also will kind of challenge and upend those programs, and that's in alignment with a few of the Trump executive orders on DEI, where disparate impact is also something that is problematized and addressed. So those are two things that we're going to see go into effect officially on December 9th in 4 days. And in May, we asked you to list public comment. Those public comments that you all contributed to, one, both slow down the process, and two, can be used in legal challenges that will come after they're officially published. So those are two things that are sad to look for. Any questions about this kind of thing in rule changes? This is the Department of Energy rules. We'll also see final rules coming for other departments, such as the Department of Labor. And again, how does this connect to the dismantling of the Department of Ed? One, funding, and two, if we see pieces of what had been under the umbrella of the Department of Ed put into these other departments, then these rules aren't just going to affect like those funding streams, but might affect other aspects of the pieces or programs that get placed under their umbrella, right? So, any questions, comments, concerns, tears about this right now?
Well, I attended the Wednesday meeting and I'm president of a international nursing sorority, and I'm trying to get position statements and letters to the speaker so she can use that as ammunition for nursing because of the nursing and OTs, PTs, uh, a lot of other professions will be limited in the amount of funding scholarships that they can get. So
Yes,
I
Myra.
was very appreciative of that Wednesday. I got a lot of information from that Wednesday session.
Yeah, if you weren't able to make it, please watch the recording. Megan is amazing, and the like her rundown will be definitely more in depth, right, than what I can give you in like 5 to 10 minutes here. So this is like just a quickie. But to Myra's point, then on the next slide, the other kind of update from National is exactly what she's talking about, which is the second point here, right? The Department of Ed's all the kind of redesignation and redefinition around professional programs and the designation of programs and the certification of programs, right? I think on first pass, it's offensive, right? It's just offensive to be like, well, right, nursing and counseling, right, aren't really professional, right? But the designation came out of a negotiation process around the budget, where there were budget negotiations about student loan funding. And so the designations actually create pathways to cap the amount of student loan funding that people can get for certain programs. So it's both offensive and problematic in terms of funding and gaining funding for the programs themselves. And so that is another kind of angle to kind of to think about and look at. And we didn't link this doc yet. We forgot to do that, Amy, but
Oh,
we have
sorry.
a
Yes.
no, 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 no. Like we're moving at a million miles an hour. Like, but we will link a doc there that we didn't want to go into the intricacies again of this, but as Myra said, Megan had some great information. So if you want to read more about this, we will have a doc linked here that you can read more in addition to listening to her webinar from Wednesday. Ginny.
Do we know who the perpetrator of all these rule changes is and the on the administrative level? Who's coming up with this whole, era of how to do things, how to cut and do this? Do we know?
The Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Project
is.
2025.
Yeah,
Okay. This
this
is
is
all the stuff?
this
Okay.
is
I bet there's
all
no one
playbook.
particular person that's sort of the mastermind of all of this.
Well, they do have people that author Project 2025 as members of the administration. So my guess is that they're the ones that are driving it forward
Okay.
and strategically. But this was laid out there. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so the action items, right? National is going to be rolling out other things, right? There was a press release from the 20th of November, if you haven't read it yet. Um, There is an action link here, right, urging Congress to ensure the department can fulfill its mission. We have more reading here about, right, current and ongoing litigation about the dismantling of the Department of Ed. And one thing that we have some other action items for you. So I wanted to end with like kind of action here, but I'll open if there are any other kind of questions or comments that you want to raise before I go into all of the potential like action areas at the moment around this.
When you're talking about Department of Ed funding, you're talking about federal funding, right?
Yeah,
Which,
Department of like so any federal funding that either here, so like funding for programs and research that came federally that it ended up filtering into educational sectors. Uh, so some of it, right, originally or originated in the Department of Ed. It comes from all over the place in the federal government, but like the 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 reason that the agencies are important is because some of the funding ends up coming from the agencies themselves that are outside of Department of Ed.
right. So are there any familiar names that when we talk to other people about this, there would be, I don't want to say a less convoluted way because it's just convoluted. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
right,
But
right.
do we say to somebody, yeah, there'll be less money for Pell Grants or there'll be less money for something that's familiar to maybe people who
Oh,
don't follow this as closely? Is there
Yeah, and
anything
I
like
think,
that?
and that is, Peg, you're already anticipating the next kind of point, right? Because this is us like making sure that as many people as possible understand this complex ridiculousness, right? But the actual messaging going out is something that both AAEW is working on and that we're trying to work on in California for thinking about how to talk to people about this to really
Right.
talk about impacts.
Okay, great. And yeah, great. Thank you.
No problem, Kathy.
I just wanted to offer that there's a lot going on right now. So there's a lot of different aspects to what they're doing with the Department of Education. The first slides that Nancy was showing was one area of impact. This is something different. This one isn't really a funding issue. This is about putting caps on how much student loan from the feds is available to postgraduate students in certain categories. And so it's a renaming, it's a shuffling of people out of the professional category into the career or graduate category because the limits on their loans that are available to them changes depending on that designation.
Yep.
So that's what this one is about. It's not about funding available to universities. It's about caps on loans to individual students.
Yeah, so funding to individuals, which is
Right. Well,
Right. And to individuals in
Well, it's
profession.
kind
Yeah.
of funding. Funding is different than loan because funding doesn't have to be paid back, but loans do.
Right. Um, Myra?
Yeah, it also, I think she said it perfectly, but there is also restrictions on the Pell Grants and such. And undergrads are limited to 20,000 in that category, and then graduates are limited to 100,000, which um
okay.
is not, if that's enough for me to say today.
Yeah. And Sherry asked about this in the chat. So I hope that that clarifies the like how nursing, right, is no longer considered professional,
Well,
right?
it's nursing, PT, OT, architects.
Yep.
And with OTs and PTs, they have to have a doctorate. So
Right.
they're not, the PT
So what is
students
their
that
loan
I've talked
limit?
to
Because
don't
they're
want to continue
All of their
as that as a major because they can't afford it.
Right.
right. So what is the loan limit in the career designation
Okay,
as opposed to the professional designation?
it's
Yeah.
200,000 for post baccalaureate.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and
Sherry, there's a pretty detailed explanation that Megan Cassell provided
Yes.
following the talk on Wednesday, which I was
Okay.
supposed to have attached it here, and I will do that so that you all have that in this deck.
Okay.
yeah, that
Great,
gives you
thank you.
the full breakdown because it does change the funding limits. And you know, when I got I don't know about you all, but like when I got my PhD, we're still in an era where PhDs in anthropology are fully funded, right? So like I was fine, right? I could go through, I got paid to get my degree, it was fine, right? But I chose that path because I couldn't afford law school. Like I was afraid to go into debt because I would have had to take out loans, right, in part. And so this will determine, right, how people think about and take up
Yeah.
different career paths too, because like the money was even available and I was afraid to go into debt to go to a professional kind of path. So, you know, it's going to have an impact.
Yep. No,
Um,
clearly. And it's not only is it offensive, but three of those fields, PTs, OTs, and nursing, there's a shortage of people in those professions. So it's clear,
correct.
sheer
And
idiocy, but
and historically dominated by women.
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially
Um,
nursing.
Architecture is interesting too, but anyway.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the only exception. Yeah.
it is. And but it will just based on what I know of architecture, architecture is currently diversifying. So this is just gonna rescind, right, that diversification of architecture because it has been actively as a profession trying to diversify the people that they have as architects. And it's gonna go back to what it used to be, which is dominated by like, you know, rich white men. So Nancy. Oh, Nancy, you're on mute.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
I did want to make one comment. My niece is our great niece, who is a member of our branch, is in her 20s, and she is a physical therapy assistant. And she was talking at Thanksgiving that she wanted to go, she had planned on going back and getting her PT. One of the points that she made that I don't think came up last week, or I might have missed it when I was watching, is that cap, what she has already borrowed goes against that cap.
Correct.
So her cap is now 100,000.
Mhm.
She's already borrowed 30. So her cap is now 70,000 to go back and get a PT, which would cost about $250,000.
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Nancy. That's an excellent point. And both, I'm sorry for, did you say your niece?
Yeah, great niece.
I'm sorry for your great niece and also, right, she makes an excellent point that is really important to point out as well. And so all of this collective knowledge that we have here, my next like kind of action thing is like this is information I think that is not right. One, right? Because to the point that was made earlier, this is all confusing and snarled, and there's all this stuff that's happening. So, our next kind of steps for thinking about action is how can we do public education work around this that's impactful, that's clear, that gets us kind of right into a more kind of streamlined place for thinking about what we're going to focus on and what we're going to advance. And so, part of what we talked about at the national meeting was some people were asking about, right, writing op-eds, right, and thinking about how we might, on the national level there, like write op-eds in big nationwide papers that focuses on some of these impacts, right, is one idea. We're still in brainstorming phase, by the way. We have not made like a decision on this, but these are areas of interest for thinking about taking action around this. Another one is really focused on how can we focus on impacts in California. I'm already thinking about how we could make some like infographics or little bite-sized things about like concrete impacts on California specifically, as well as certain professions, how like historically, right, professions that are historically inhabited by women. So I'm brainstorming right now, but I this is where we're going next. And if you yourselves feel ready to like write a letter to the editor, an op-ed in your local paper, please reach out and like let's work together on how we can amplify that as Amy and I and anybody else that wants to be on board is thinking about how to frame some of this public education stuff that needs to happen around, right, what is happening with all of this with the Department of Ed and what its impacts are going to be. Because we know we have many things happening right now in the world, but this is something that I think is also going to be useful if we can talk about it in the right way, both for advancing our own causes and thinking about, the next election cycles with affordability, with, the larger issues with economics as well as education. So, those are things that we're thinking about for like, you know, next month, upcoming issues, I mean, of public policy news and upcoming kind of releases. Um, the other things are just, right, making sure that we look at, right, our last public policy news focused on some action items for, um, you know, pushing back against this assault on higher ed. So we're reminding you of those to go back if you haven't done those that like or started thinking about those action items. But also knowing that we're going to release a few more things and that National has a slate of kind of 2-minute activists and other things that they're coming out with. So we'll have all sorts of between all of us, we'll have all sorts of tools and resources. But from in my mind, and again, what we talked about at the national meeting is that we need to be a little bit more proactive about public education around this and the actual impacts and the impacts in for us in California. So that's what's coming up, and that's what we're thinking about. Like I said, if you do anything on like independently or want to work together, please reach out, right? Because Nancy, I need more people like your great niece, right, to be involved in that kind of right messaging and thinking about what are the issues that are most critical. Any questions or comments there?
Missy, I have a question.
Hmm.
Um, is National considering collaborating with, National Nurses PT, OT, all those organizations in terms of coming out with something that they're putting together? Because this negatively impacts women all the way across the board till when they become retired. And certainly the pay equity issue and keeping women from being socially mobile, as somebody said in the chat, is a big freaking deal. And that's this administration does not want to have women other than barefoot, pregnant, and at home.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Fair.
it.
Amy, I'm not sure if you know, I don't know if those are part of their wider coalition partners, but I know that they have built out a pretty big coalition in higher ed. But Amy, are you aware of that?
I'm not. And it's a question that we can ask Megan. I think that that list of coalition groups that we join and collaborate together with is constantly growing. So I think that's a great idea and suggestion.
And
Sure.
Amy, it factors right into the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls across the
Yep.
country.
Yes.
Peg, go ahead.
You can see a little bit of the misogyny already in that Inc. article. They're saying, oh, some feminists are saying this is targeted toward women, but no, 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 because they have architecture in there. So no, that's not the case. So, but I think the point that you made about diversity in architecture is one of those key points. When you did the Prop 50 graphic and talking points, which were just fabulous, the fact that you included the that it wouldn't go into effect unless another state did it. I don't know how many people I talked to where that flipped their vote. They said, "Oh, I didn't know that." And they said, "Oh, now I will vote for it." So I agree that, doing what you have done already in Prop 50, but to have these little things that people might not notice, like the diversity in architecture and how that is part of the anti-DEI effort might really bring that home and undo some of these comments like, "Oh no, that's not against women." No.
Thanks, Peg. And I wrote a note here to make sure that's part of like some of the
Thanks.
info that we put out.
Thank
Myra?
Yes, I just wanted to add a couple of things. Then um, Megan asked for people. She wanted to know if we would ask for people that are high in my profession. I've already emailed them, and we have one position statement going to her, and I intend to write a position statement for my honor sorority in nursing. But there's such a shortage in these professions. I think that's the key right there. What are we going to do if we don't have them?
Mm-hmm. And
Because
Myra, please send that our way too, so we can amplify it in all different
all
directions.
right, I'll do all that I can.
Thank you. Cornelia?
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great, thanks. So also had a thought by no measure, obviously, do any of us support any of this, or we do not like what's going on, but on looking at the pure economics of it and the pure money flow of it, is there an opportunity here to actually put pressure on the schools to not only offer scholarships on their own, but also to lower their prices? There is I think there is some reason to, I think there's some evidence out there, or certainly data out there, that because loans are so available and for so much money, it's like it like feeds on itself. So the schools are like, oh, the people can get all this money, so we'll just keep charging more and more tuition. And I don't have the data. I don't, but I'm just looking at it from the pure economics. So is there a way that our organizations can put pressure on the actual schools, and to give scholarships, to maybe lower tuitions, um, just as a kind of a side door to combating this craziness?
Thanks.
Just a thought.
Thanks, Cornelia. And
Yeah.
that's one of the, as we're thinking about our legislative agenda for next year too, is thinking about what are the legislative pathways that we might take. I don't know about trying to get a CSU to lower their tuition rate now. But I do think that like one of the avenues that we started working on, that we ended up not pursuing, was originally some of the federal grants for first generation college students. We were going to put together a package that pushed for California to like better institute those programs. But as part of the budget negotiations, they actually like retained, right, some of those programs. But that, to your point, right, there might be a legislative pathway that we can take that also tries to squeeze some money for this out of a budget that is already tight, but that shows a priority area, especially for a governor who's probably going to run for president.
Yeah, and I sort of, you make a good point about the CSUs for sure. I guess in my mind I was thinking more of some of the private institutions. The other piece is that this is going to hurt the schools as well, because there will be fewer people who um, apply, go into the profession. People are gonna seek something else, which is obviously more affordable. And so yeah, again, kind of backdooring this economics argument and kind of, I don't know, hitting them back at their own game. I don't know. That's just kind of where I was at. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great suggestion. Carolyn?
Hi, I have been thinking kind of bigger picture here. As we go out to meet with our congressman in the spring, um, we would really love to have something that summarizes all of the attacks on women and the equity for women and girls, everything that has happened, because it's really hard for us to do that out here. I think you have a better handle on it.
Oh, Carolyn, I think that'd be like everything.
Yes,
But
yes.
I wrote it down as a suggestion. I'll think about that. Like, what does that look like? But there's, I think the snarl here too is that like if everything is DEI and DEI is something that helps women, then everything. But how can we like, make that more concise? I will think about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you for the conversation, everyone. This is really useful and like I will do my best to start like thinking about and putting things together, but like let's all pool our resources on the things that we're all working on, to create something that is like useful and actionable and that we can roll out together. Um, and we'll see what National comes up with too to build on the language and the focus areas that they're focusing on too. Um,
Alyssa?
I think
yeah.
Sherry has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, I
Yes.
didn't see it. Go ahead,
Um,
Sherry.
One thing I was just sort of looking at was looking at the average loans by those four professions, and and doing this via AI, and then looking at how long it would take the average person in that career to pay off those loans
Mm-hmm.
and how many years. And arguably, like PTs and OTs, and at least in my perspective, opinion, are grossly underpaid, and it's taking them on average of like 30 years to pay off their loans. And it's kind of it's interesting to think about what this might do. I mean, I don't like this at all. I don't want to suggest that I support this reclassification or these changes at any level, but there is something flawed in the system that PTs and OTs, and that they're requiring doctorates and the amount of loans that students are taking relative to their earning potential over a 20 to 30-year period and how much they are paying back in loans. It is really out of whack.
It is. And
And so having a $200,000 limit, while it might be providing them with the opportunity to become an RN or become a PT or an OT, it's also saddling a number of women with and I also asked for just basic numbers of the splits between male, female in those professions. It is also saddling them with tremendous debt, and that debt is really does limit upward mobility. And
yeah,
so I just wanted to make sure that we look at those things as we build out our recommendations for what should be done, and really look at what should we be doing for women in these fields, and men, of course, but in these fields, because something is terribly wrong when it's taking 30 years to pay off student loan debt.
yeah. And Sherry, it's a good point. And I think this is something that is not talked about nearly enough in the student debt crisis itself, is that the entire borrowing system was completely kind of redone in 1998, right? That like it shifted the entire way that this whole thing is administered, how we think about banking, how we think about loans, and that is the underlying problem plus inflation, right? Plus like stagnant wages that like that this is a much larger issue and part of the discussion, at least for us, right? I mean, I want to fix all the problems, right? But like how do we negotiate who has access to what while we're working on the bigger problems of systemic inequity, right? And like those are kind of two things that I think about a lot. It's like, yes, this is a much larger structural problem, but we're keeping people out of it while we're still not addressing the structural problem itself. So how do we balance those two things? I think that's a great point and a good thing to continue to think about. Rosanna?
Thank you. I was in on the seminar or the webinar this earlier this week, and I thought, or maybe I misheard, that some of these proposals are part of that big beautiful bill, and so they haven't really got into effect. Is that correct? And maybe contacting our legislator representative, like our congressperson, to let them know about that aspect of the bill, of the budget crisis, of the budget.
Right. So some aspects of this are part of the negotiations around the budget. And that I think that's what National is working on with some of their action alerts. And right, the some of the pieces that we have linked in the previous slide address some of that. And Amy, you can probably speak to the what's happening with like some of the National's action alerts more than I can right now.
Yeah, I think that they are really going to be coming out with a lot more. They've been telling us to keep an eye because in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a lot more of these action alerts coming. So keep an eye on your inboxes.
Kathy?
I wanted to address to Sherry, excuse me, to Sherry's point. I just wanted to make sure our members, maybe we have some newer members or members who are newer to public policy, just to remind everybody that this is an issue that AUW National takes really, really seriously and is very, very much involved in. Not, well, but Sherry was talking specifically about the core problem is student debt is just in all fields is just outrageous and needs to be addressed, and National has been addressing it for a long time. So if you're not aware, I get this brochure about 3 years ago. They published Deeper in Debt, and it's a really excellent summary of exactly what the problem is and what AUW is doing and can do about it, and they update it every year, and it's available on National website. So if you weren't aware of that, I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thanks, Kathy. All right. And actually, great discussion, everyone. But I'm actually going to turn it over to Kathy, right, to talk about, um, another kind of aspect of we're focusing kind of heavily on higher ed, but this is going to be an issue and is an issue for education generally. So I'll turn it over to Kathy to give an update on the school board project and why this is also a really critical way that we can get involved right now.
Just realized I'm on. There we go. Thanks so much, Melissa. And yeah, I was just going to say, switching from higher education to K through 12, both aspects of both ends of education are very critical to AUW and to everything that we care about, what's going on with our student populations. What we're doing at the state level is focusing on school boards, and particularly school board elections, and school board members who are putting together policies that affect our kids. for some of you who, I'm hoping most of you are familiar with the school board project. If you're not, if you're new to it, please go to our website, to the AEW California website, go to public policy, and on there you'll see a page for special projects. And if you click on that, you'll see everything you need to know about the school board project, what it is, what we've been doing. We have full toolkits in there to kind of guide you through the whole process. So I'm just going to take a minute to kind of bring you up to date. We started the project 3 years ago, and it arose out of our concerns, particularly about what was happening across the nation with regard to 3 things that we really focus on in the project. And these are book banning, curriculum censorship, and policies, the enactment of policies that we felt were harmful, or at the very least neglectful of our LGBTQ plus students. And particularly then even more narrow in that arena is with regard to transgender students. And so we've been working on this project for 3 years, and the crux of it is that we're trying to encourage more and more of our members, all of our members, as many as we can reach, to actually pay attention to school board races and what's going on within their own districts. There are so many things that are critical about education at this level. And there's 2 particularly ones that we focus on. And one is that school board members set to a large degree policies that affect our students in all 3 of these areas. And the other is that school board races are sort of a breeding ground for, kind of the kickoff point for people who have served on or want to run for school board races, tend to then use that as a springboard for going into higher races. So for state legislative offices and eventually for Congress. So it's really, really critical that we pay attention to who's being elected to our school boards and what kind of policies they're enacting relating to our children. So our focus is on 2 things. One is getting our members out, going to school board meetings, finding out what's happening in your district, what kind of policies are coming out. 2 things. Number one, what kind of policies are coming out of your school boards? What issues are being presented? And the other is who else is appearing at those meetings and making a lot of noise. And of course, these are groups like Moms for Liberty. If you're not familiar with them, this is a group that came out of Florida, again, about 3 or 4 years ago, and really started this whole movement toward backing school board members, very, very conservative, regressive school board members who would implement these policies that they support, that are, of course, the antithesis to everything that we believe in AUW with regard to education. So that's sort of the background and where we are now. We're just entering our 3rd year, and this is phase 3. And we really want to go back to one of our original emphasis was on trying to get our members to identify within their districts, to identify, recruit, and then support good candidates for these school board races. And we've sort of put that aside over the last year and focusing more on monitoring school boards for compliance. And we want this, going into this 3rd phase, we're going to be focusing on 2 things, is monitoring school boards to make sure that they're compliant specifically with California laws. And then the second is we want to get back to putting more emphasis on recruiting good candidates. And so we're going to be doing a lot of work on both of those 2 areas this year. And to kick that off, we are going to have this symposium on January 31st. Leading up to the symposium, I just want to point out the first part of this slide that Amy has put together up here. If you haven't been following, leading up to the symposium, we have been featuring a series of articles in the public policy newsletters that talk about the school board project, why it's so important. And then the last article that I wrote that's going to be coming out this month, or I think it just came out, is on the symposium itself. So we're really excited about the symposium. It's going to be a half day, and it will be a Saturday morning. And you're going to hear from some really, really exciting speakers. For the first time, it won't just be all me. You get to hear from people outside of, besides me and outside of AUW. So our keynote is we're going to kick things off by helping everybody understand. One of the questions we get a lot is, well, all of this stuff is coming out of Washington, D.C., federal laws, federal courts handing down things, policies. What's a policy? What's an executive order? What's the difference? What's a law? And then more importantly, well, so what then happens in California? We're very lucky in California because we have a lot of really good protective laws in all three of these areas. But now we have these federal laws that are coming out that are saying just the opposite of the things that we have enacted here in California. So the question comes up frequently, well, what happens when those collide? What takes precedence? Where does it leave our California protective laws when we have these new things coming out of the feds? And so our keynote speaker is going to address that. It's Richard Barrera, and he's currently a trustee for the San Diego School Board, County School Board, and he has won numerous awards for policies and programs that he's implemented there. He also is a member of he's on the staff actually for the state Department of Education. So he's going to be the keynote addressing these issues and bring us all up to speed on where we stand in the face of these challenges coming out of Washington. The next piece of the symposium is going to be a panel discussion, and we're going to have, it's going to be three participants who are from each going to be approaching this from a little bit different angle. One is a woman who sits on the state PTA board, and so she's going to be talking about how these policies impact parents and what issues parents really care about. And the second is an actual sitting school board member from Murrieta, Temecula area. And she's going to be talking about how these issues are impacting in a very real way members who she's a more progressive member in a very, very solid conservative district. And she's going to be talking about how she's impacted. And then the third member is from the Los Angeles LGBTQ Center. And she's going to be talking about and helping our members understand, get a better understanding of why these policies that are harmful to our LGBTQ youth, why they're so important and how they're impacting our students in a real way, and why helping us understand better why this is an important issue for AUW to be concerned about. And all three of them are going to be the kind of crux of it all is what can we do to help them? What can we do to support parents and school board members and our LGBTQ plus students as members of AUW? And then we're going to end the discussion with two workshops, and you'll have a choice of which one you want to attend. And one of them is going to be facilitated by two of our own members from the Danville Alamo district. And they have been really successful in putting together a community-wide coalition to support their local schools. It's called Lift Up Public Schools. And they're going to be talking to you all about how this came about and how they put it together. And they'll talk about their successes and their challenges. And what we're hoping that you will walk away from that with an understanding of how you can replicate this kind of a process in your own districts, and that you will take action to do so. And then we're going to have a really exciting speaker from an organization that we're working with called the School Board Project, the School Board Integrity Project, very close to ours, but a little bit different. And this is a nationwide program. And the speaker is Kirsten Schwede, and she is an organizer of her organization focuses specifically on school board candidate races. That's all they do. And they provide training, all kinds of campaign support, funding, et cetera. And she's going to be talking about how you put together a successful campaign, how to find good candidates, how to recruit them, and then how to support them. And so it's going to be, I think, just an excellent 3.5 hours of your time. And if your branch is, or if you or your branch, other branch members are interested in this and being part of the school board project, I really encourage you to get this on your calendar and attend. We're going to be putting out a flyer, and you go ahead and go to the next slide. And this will be available to all of our members, all our branches. And what we're asking is that we want to open this up to not just AUW members, but to the community, anyone who is interested in what's happening at the school board level. And so we'll be asking you to distribute these flyers once they come out, to make them available to any other organizations that you belong to that you think might also have interest, and just really participate and help us get the word out. And I think, has registration opened officially, Amy?
Yes, it is.
So the registration information will be on the flyer. And yeah, I think that's everything. And is there anything else you wanted me to cover on that, Amy, or did you think I got it all?
You got it all, Kathy. Thank you so much. That's awesome. It'll be a great program. I'm really excited.
I also dropped the registration link into the chat, so you can register right now.
Excellent. Are there anybody have any questions about the symposium? Okay, thanks.
Kathy?
Actually, sorry, this is Peg. Have we thought about student organizations?
In terms of what?
Who may be, well, this may be in that workshop about community. We could bring it up then. But I was just wondering if there are student organizations that are also, concerned about this, and whether or not they're going to be sort of included. I didn't know if there was any way we might.
In terms of distributing the information to them, is that what you mean, or including them in this?
Now, you've planned the symposium, but I think in the long haul, involving students, I know when we go to school boards, there are often 2 student representatives that are also involved in the school, in the board. And, I'm sure that they're concerned about a lot of the things that are happening here too. Just an idea. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that will be part of the I think there are some student groups or a student group that's part of the Lift Up Public Schools Coalition. So I think they'll be talking about that. Thanks, Peggy. Yeah, Sina.
Yeah, it's kind of a continuation of that. We started here, contact with students that we heard were interested. And in fact, in Temecula, they already have formed an organization, and it's really interesting to see the difference. The ladies had wanted to make it more partisan organization because there is a Republican Party. And I said, no, these kids are not going to want to have a Democratic Party. They don't like either one right now. They want to see something that is believing in free, open dialogue, progressive policies, protecting that kind of thing. And they don't quite trust just the 2 parties with that. And sure enough, the comment when we suggested that they, perhaps would like to be the Young Democrats on the campus. No, they want to do this. And they formed one already in one of the high schools. They're already in process of doing it in another one. We have somebody who is helping them with the bylaws and all of that. And representatives spoke at the school board for the first time. And it was amazing. This kid stood up and said, you're not concerned about education. You're concerned about your own individual morality and personal agendas and whatever. Boards should only focus on the schools, and we want open discussions. And he really had such an impact that all of the speakers that followed, whatever they were wanting to speak on, kind of included his message in their dialogue, in their little 2 or 3 minute speech. And so we're looking to spread it now to one more school. We can't do it, obviously. It has to come from the student within the school, who then goes to a teacher, who will then be part of that organization. But we have hopes of, obviously, they want to do public service, that during the election, our flyers for particular candidates will be knocked on the door by these students who want to contribute. And so we're going to want to work closely with them, but obviously not be part of the actual, but we're giving them the ideas and we're encouraging them. And we're hoping to get it in Murrieta too. So I was kind of skeptical, but I think if we keep in mind that kids are idealistic, they are also very pragmatic in how they want to get involved, but to allow them leeway to form their own organization with the goal of obviously protecting education and free speech is really paramount. So I just thought I'd report that out, that there is, turning to the young is what we want to do. And they're really doing it. They're starting to do it now. They're really concerned. They are doing it.
Quick question. Is there a template for what you just described? Like if you want to design this in your community, here's how to go about it, and here's how to create this. And
I know what obviously it has to come from that students within the school, but we can encourage it, and then we can advise them on an actual bylaw template. And yes, the process, it's right now a process for ourselves. It's not, we want to see how this is going to work out for the election, but we think, I mean, these kids are amazing, and this student is so articulate.
Right. And I put together a public policy team, and one woman in particular really does want to work with the high school student population. And I think this would be, and she is actively involved and engaged with the school board project. I think she would love this, and being able to provide her with a template for how to go about doing this if you feel you're not ready yet. But if you want another second pilot to be working alongside you, I think there'd be interest from within our group.
That would, so, she can contact me if you want to do it directly, to have her pick it up.
Right.
Is that what you're looking?
Yeah, if you could maybe just put your contact information in the chat, I'll copy it, and that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thanks, Sina.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I love all this great conversation today. This is awesome. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I'm going to run through the rest of what we have here pretty quickly. First, regarding Lobby Day 2026, which is going to be coming up this spring, we sent out a survey to all members about a month and a half ago. And the reason for the survey was that in the last couple of years, we've found that the Lobby Day meetings with the Sacramento legislative offices have proved to be pretty challenging because those offices are so heavily booked. We don't get a lot of time with them, and the majority of the meetings are held to just 15 minutes because they just don't have time. And the majority of the meetings are with staff rather than with legislators. So one branch who did things differently last year was the Redlands branch, who asked to schedule their own meetings in district. They ended up having a really great success doing that. They scheduled 8 meetings. I think they were targeting Fridays because Friday is the day that the legislators come home to the home district. And they scheduled 8 meetings, of which 4, so 50%, were with the actual legislator themselves. And we sent out a survey to all members to see how people would feel about modeling our Lobby Day in 2026 after the way that Redlands did it. And we got overwhelming feedback that a lot of people would love to do the in-district meetings. And then the second most popular option was Zoom. So we are going to be making that shift in 2026, where we think that this is going to result in earlier meeting confirmations instead of having to wait until the last minute to book those meetings, which is just frustrating for everybody, myself probably most of all. We're going to have longer meetings, hopefully, and we should be able to have more meetings with legislators rather than staff. The one big challenge that's posed by this new model is that in some cases, some legislators have a ton of AAUW members who want to be part of Lobby Day, who are in their district. And the majority of people do prefer to meet with their own legislator. So we're kind of kicking around some ideas about how to make this work because this could be a challenge. But we'll also discuss it with our legislative advocate and come up with some strategies on how this can be effective. And we will be sending out some more information and a sign-up sheet to you in January. So please be on the lookout for that. Yeah, Barb.
Two things. Do you know what week in April it will be?
Not yet. We haven't picked that yet, but it's usually sometime in mid-April.
Okay. And second is, I did answer that yes, I would like to contact them, but will we still get assistance on the bills? That was
Yes.
so nice to receive that nice
Oh, yeah.
breakdown and what the bills were, and it was so succinct so we could practice it and feel prepared.
Yeah, thanks, Barb. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do all of that the same way. Our committee will be getting together to, first of all, develop the legislative agenda, which consists of about 30 bills that we're going to be advocating for. We're going to pick the top 3 bills out of that legislative agenda, which are the ones that we're going to speak to legislators about. And we will provide you with the full package, including, the talking points and all the good things that you need to be armed with in order to have a meaningful conversation with the legislators.
Well, if I could put a bid in, do not choose April 10th to the 13th. I'm on vacation.
We'll try. Yeah, Kathy.
Just something we need to keep in mind is that we do have a lot of legislators who are in districts where we don't have branches, and we need to find some way to make sure that those are covered as well.
Yes. And I think that in some cases, the people who prefer to do Zoom meetings instead of the in district, I think more of those people may end up being assigned to some of those those districts that don't have AAUW members.
You also had a question in the chat from Peg. Said, will it be confined to a couple of days, or do we have more flexibility on when that may really help us connect with legislators rather than staff?
Okay. Yeah, we have historically done it just over like 2 days, but that a lot of that was driven by the fact that we were trying to arrange all of these meetings in Sacramento. I think that if we now go to this in-district model, we can probably spread it over like a 2-week period, and that should give enough flexibility.
Great.
Any other questions? All right. Missy, over to you.
So just a quickie of things to look forward to, other things that are coming out in 2026. So look for information about the City Council Action and Monitoring Project. We've been working on putting that together. So we'll be sending out more information and, how you might participate. And the initial ask will come out, and then more information will roll out in January, February 2026. We also have a new incoming class of public policy interns. We closed the application portal at Cal State Long Beach, I think a week and a half ago. So we have a timeline for interviews and onboarding. We should have 2 to 3 new interns coming in by early January 2026.
Hey, I think hopefully most of you have had a chance to take a look at the outcome of the 2025 legislative agenda that we published a couple of months ago in the newsletter. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. Our A bills didn't do great, with a couple of them being vetoed by the governor and the third one being gutted. The governor, some of his decisions may have something to do with his national aspirations. We did have 14 of our support bills that made it to the governor's desk, of which 11 were signed into law. including this one, which makes me really happy. The law, Scott Wiener's SB 627, which prohibits law enforcement officers from wearing face masks during their duties. This is the first such law enacted in the nation, so that was great news. We also had signed AB 260, which is the bill that protects access to medication abortion. And importantly, we did have about 7 bills that we wanted to oppose this session. 3 of those bills did die, including, oops, I think this is a typo. It's AB 579 by Castillo. This is the bill that would have barred courts from treating parents' refusal to acknowledge their child's gender identity as abuse, which then prevents it from being used in a custody dispute. So that bill died, as did 2 other ones that we opposed. All of that was, really happy news. To see the full results of our legislative agenda, you can go to our bill tracking report, and you can also go to our November issue of Public Policy News for the full legislative agenda scorecard.
And a quick question in the chat. Even though the governor didn't sign the bills that passed, they will still go into effect. If the governor didn't sign them, they will not go. So anything that got to the governor's desk does not go into effect unless the governor signs.
Well, I thought that was not the case in California. I thought there was no pocket veto.
Oh no, he can no. He can if they get to his desk, he either signs or he doesn't sign. No, they like
Missy, I think Peg is right. This came up earlier and we clarified it with KVO. And
Yeah.
she says if it's not if it passes and he doesn't sign it within a certain period of time, it becomes effective without
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great. And a lot of people don't know that.
so 770, which one? 771 or some of
He,
the other ones?
No, if he vetoes it, it's vetoed.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
yes,
it passes
yes,
all the way through and he still doesn't sign it, but it passes all the way through, then
yes.
it goes into effect.
Sorry. Yes, that
Oh, okay.
I would my fault, my miscommunication. I'm
That's
like,
okay.
no, he vetoed those. I'm like, no, he
This is
like
this
that's
is
yeah.
Right. So 11 of the 14 bills
yeah.
were signed, but the other 3 still go into effect.
no, Peg, I don't think that's true. I will confirm that, but I think the other 3 were vetoed.
Yeah, they were vetoed.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're vetoed, then they're vetoed. But if
Yeah,
they're, yeah,
they were
okay,
vetoed.
okay.
That was like we lobbied hard to get like especially the A bills through, but he actively vetoed them, and then we have the language of why he vetoed them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prop 50, thank you all so much for all you did to get out the vote and advocate for passage. It passed overwhelmingly. Happy news for democracy.
Your
And
materials were excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent on that.
And let's
Thank you.
thank Erica.
yes, Erica, yeah.
Yeah, Erica is amazing. So if Erica is on this call, like give a shout out to Erica, and if Erica is not, we will pass on all the
Yeah.
love because she is amazing.
I think she is on here. She did that incredible job with the Prop 50 package, and she also designed the beautiful flyer for the school board project symposium. So we're so lucky to have her talent.
Can I make a comment? I don't
Yes.
know whether we were kind of forced because of what National said our position could be, but I thought there was so much power in the way in which we worded our position based on the values of AAUW and tied it to that as opposed and saying our position is bipartisan or nonpartisan. I was able to use that in the most conservative, with the most conservative audiences. And we initially had a number of members who were really vehemently opposed to gerrymandering as they saw it. And they shifted based on the reading of the materials. So I don't know what drove that decision, but it was very, very powerful for those more moderate
Thank you,
of our
Sherry.
memberships. Member,
Thank you. And that was, yeah, that was Missy's design and her brilliance, how that was all worded. So yes, thank you. Thanks,
really
Missy.
good.
Yeah, Janice?
Yes. Do you know the status of the suit against Proposition 50? As I see now, Texas Supreme Court said Texas can do their redistricting. But I know there was something pending against, as soon as it was passed, against Prop 50.
I don't. I don't know if anybody else on this call does.
Amy, I
Okay.
think the decision with the Supreme Court or our thing was contingent upon if the Texas reapportionment went through.
They took
No.
they took that out. They took that out.
They did
They did
because
it.
it
So
was still
even if
reported on the news that I heard. Yeah.
even if Texas didn't go through at on the shadowy shadow docket at the Supreme Court, and the lower court decision was upheld, we were still going to be able to go ahead with 50.
Oh yeah, I know.
Um,
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, yeah. And it's the Republican Party, I think, is the one that brought suit against Prop 50, right?
mhm.
Here. Okay. And I don't know where that's working its way at this point.
Oh, yeah, I think last I saw the was yeah, I think there was a judge that basically said, I'm not going to hear this. I know I remember reading something about it. Now I can't remember what it said, but I think it's a slog for them. I think it's going to be a slog.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a new legal challenge. I just put that in the chat from Democracy Docket. So I think this is gonna probably wind its way through different attempts and filings, but like I put the newest filing from 2 days ago in the chat.
Thanks.
Well, the Virginia is apparently trying to do the same thing. So blue states are following.
Kathy?
But doesn't there have to be
Oh.
there's a time limit on some of this, right? Because congressional races, they have to be, you have to petition to run within certain dates. So it can't, I mean, some of these decisions have to come before that.
That's why the Supreme Court made their decision so quickly, because in
Right,
Texas, I think the
right.
filing deadline's like next Wednesday. It's like December
Yeah,
9th or 10th or something.
right.
Kathy, go ahead.
So I just want to say a little bit of encouraging news in that, speaking of the Texas decision, Alito said in his decision language that he said, just like as California's, he's a Texas's law is based on partisan gerrymandering, not racial gerrymandering, which is a bunch of crap. But he did state that language, and he specifically referred to our bill, and he said like California. So they would be, assuming it makes its way up to the Supremes, or even looking at lower courts who look to the Supremes for guidance, they're going to be pretty hard pressed to say, well, then partisan gerrymandering is okay for Texas, but it's not okay for California. So I think we're in good shape.
Well, we'll see.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, we are fast approaching 3 o'clock. So thank you all for showing up for No King's Day. That was awesome. It was an AAUW sponsored event, and I'm sure there will be more to come. So thank you for all your activism.
There's one coming up on the 13th in Redwood
Is
City
it?
here, and that's on the reaction to the Venezuela shooting of the boats. So I
A
would,
No Kings Fest?
yeah, I would assume it's more than just in the peninsula here area here.
Okay, that's good to know.
So
Thanks,
Amy,
Barb.
did you want me to say anything while we're still
Oh,
on?
Sharon, I sent a note to you earlier. We're going to put off that conversation
That's
until
fine.
February. Sorry about that.
No. But
Was hoping you got
February
the
might be too late, actually. Gonna do it in January.
Okay, I'll follow up with you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Sharon.
No problem. I didn't see it. That's all. That's fine.
Okay. Yep, no problem. So we our upcoming webinars. The AAUW Silicon Valley branch has gotten Leah Littman, who I think some of you probably know from the Strict Scrutiny podcast. She's going to be speaking with us on the Roe commemoration on January 22nd. Everybody is welcome, so please register at this link. And then here's the link for the School Board Project Symposium. And here are several links here if you missed these previous webinars. That's it. Our next meeting is
Hold on.
in February. Yes. Oh, sorry.
All
Yeah.
right. Rebecca has wanted to talk about a quick partnership opportunity. So, Rebecca, thank you for your patience, and uh, if you are still with us,
I'm with
please
you.
tell us more.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take a fast minute. I'm like some of you, I'm also involved with the League of Women Voters. I'm on the board here in San Francisco, and we have a youth council of high school students who have been partnering with some of the AAUW Tech Trek grads, and they have created a AI powered civic engagement app, and they presented it to the League of Women Voters California contingency last night online. It was really exciting, and they're looking for other opportunities to collaborate and get input. And I just thought this group might really be able to give them some good input and also help them get more connected in advance of the midterms. I just put a quick little overview in the chat. And if they can, one of them will come and present in February. Missy said she thinks she could give them, it's like a 10-minute presentation and then input.
And
Really,
again,
really cool.
it's on. It's
Very,
on.
very cool project. And I'm glad that Rebecca sent me a message because we've been looking for other partnership opportunities with the League of Women Voters, and this seems like a really cool project that would help us achieve some of our goals. So thanks for
Yeah,
bringing that to our attention, Rebecca.
thank you. We were having some fun connecting the two organizations here in San Francisco. And so anything we can do further would be awesome.
Excellent. And anyone else have any open announcements? And I'm going back and forth with Sherry in the chat right now about making the sign up for ResistBot more visible on where we can think about putting it on the website. And maybe I'll make a little robot looking icon on PP News to make it more visible in PP News as well, because so there's some trouble finding where to sign up for that. So I'll work on that. Thank you for raising it. Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm with the Turlock branch, and I sent a copy of the flyer to Amy. But on January 15th, our branch is having a Zoom program open to everyone on reproductive health care post-ops. We have a couple of local physicians that do training, intern training, and they run large healthcare centers, and they're going to be talking about things like how training for physicians have changed since Dobbs, that there's quite a few places that medical schools that don't even provide training on high risk pregnancies any longer because they can't follow up with some of the needed abortion care, and also the impact of choices even within California for like a lot of the rural areas, it's mostly Catholic hospitals, and they have policies about what they will and will not provide. So I don't know if that is. I think that's going to go out. But let me
And
see if
Nancy, I asked the web team to send it out to all members, so it'll be going out I think next week, and then I asked them to send it again, I believe, in January.
Okay, cool.
Oh, no, your event is January 15th, right? No, it's going to go out next week. Yeah.
There we go. So keep an eye out for that, and please let your branches know. We're very excited about this.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Ginny.
Just a quickie. I just got confirmation today that Senator Menjivar is going to come to our January 17th meeting. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and she was the author of the SB 418. So, and also an advocate and champion for the LGBTQ community on Sacramento. So, that one. And then I don't know if the rest of you have received stuff from your assembly people, but Nick Schultz is my assembly person. He's new to the assembly this year. And he sent out a flyer to everybody in the district, I guess, just saying, look, now's the time to come to me with your ideas for legislation. So, if we want to work through that way, or, we haven't done our bills yet, but we have ideas of where we want to be. So if you want to send some stuff my way, I will be glad to send it in to him. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ginny.
Yeah.
So will we get a list then of all these different meetings that everyone's having, so we may have an opportunity to Zoom with them?
We include everything we can in PP News, and I have recorded this meeting as well as, I believe, hopefully, Nancy Marr turned on the AI, right? So you should get also a summary there. But the roundup will be in those two places. Anything that's happening before the January thing goes out, we'll send out as an individual flyer.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, with one whole minute to spare.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for the great conversation. It's always great to be in community with such an engaged and active and motivated group of people. So thank you so much.
I just
Thank
put
you
the
for
flyer
everything
for
you
the
do.
reproductive health care in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Truly.
Thank you all for
all
everything that you do.
Thank you, Amy, Missy, everyone.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Yes. Happy holidays.